Hey guys, welcome back. Let's get started with another weekly video. Hope you had a good weekend. So I just wanted to go over some of the main indexes, right? And I wanted to go over the weekly and monthly charts to point out some interesting levels, right? Right now on SPY, for example, we are pretty much hovering right near the weekly resistance, right? And if I go to the monthly chart on SPY, you'll be able to see the same as well, right? This level yellow line that I've drawn here, right, is also the monthly level for SPY. So I think in the next 2 days, right, this rally again, just because this is resistance doesn't mean it has to directly reject and go down, right? The market can try to, track more bulls, right? Try to stay above this level before it boom comes to the downside. So that is something I am looking for, right? In the next 2 days, I'm looking for this rally to peter out, right? Fit top and finish this A wave before we come down for this B wave. So again, you can see the same across the indexes, right? On QQQ, again, if I go to the weekly chart, you'll be able to see that this level right here, right, is the weekly monthly resistance. If I go to the monthly chart, you can be able to see that as well, right? The same weekly, monthly resistance, and therefore this level is going to act as a magnet, right? Considering how important this level is in the market, as I mentioned, right, does not have to automatically reject here, right? Again, on Qs, we know this blue line is the downtrend resistance line, so again, it could have some kind of fake breakout, right? Monday, Tuesday, try to hover over this line before boom, it comes to the downside. So again, I'm looking for the same thing in QQQ as well. IWM, on the other hand, right, it is a breakout, but again, we popped right into the monthly and weekly resistance. A little more room, right, to 192, 193. Again, hover a little bit before I expect it to top out, come down for that B wave before we move higher for the C wave. And lastly, even the Dow, right, you can see that we're pretty close to the monthly weekly resistance and this trend line channel, right? Qs and Dow are on the trend line. IWM and SPY have broken out, but all three are at very crucial monthly and weekly levels. So any push higher, right? I would expect it to last maybe a day or two at most, right? Before market tends to retrace and give back most of the gains. If you want to look at fibs, right, from the top to the bottom, you'll be able to see that SPY is approaching, right? 418 is a very good level because that's the 0.5 fib, right? SPY is approaching the 0.5 fib. The Qs are approaching the 0.5 fib as well, right? You'll be able to see that here. Qs are approaching. That's what I mean, I could see, right? It not necessarily has to go try to make that high, right? But I could potentially see the bull case for a couple of days of bullishness, right? Before it comes back to the inside. So IWM as well, let's see what fib level intersects, right? From the top to the bottom, you'll be able to see that we're against the 0.382 fib, right? Which is the inverse 618 fib. So pretty important level, right? A little bit of hovering would ideally act as resistance in the zone. So that's why I wanted to give a main talk about the indexes, right? I could see a day or two at the most, right? Most likely I see a pump and dump coming in pretty much, right? Again, a pretty, like, if you want to wait, right? If you don't want to get caught in the pump and dump, what you can do is you can draw a trend line that is holding a support across the region, and you can see that this line pretty much here, right, is also the 100-day support, right? So a good level to short would be if the market breaks 417. So again, that's like a whole like $8-9 lower, right? So that's if you're trying to be a safe short, right? You can, as you can see here, this is a pretty important demand area. So if and when the market is to break 415, only 407, only then would it be a safe short to, let's say, 390. So that's like a $17 short, right? Which is pretty good risk to reward. So if you were a safe bull, right, this area at 407, 408 demand, right, it has to break. Only when it breaks that, right, will it come back to the downside. Same for QQQ, right? On QQQ, you can see that this channel has pretty much been holding as support and resistance, right? So till we break this, again, this is your level of demand, right? We've been bouncing off this zone until we break this channel and this level at 320, right? It's not a safe short. If it breaks 320, then it easily sees 312, right? And again, we can see this lower trend line at 300. So yeah, once this channel breaks, that would be a pretty decent short. So yeah, you can go ahead, draw channels on your charts, right? When the channel breaks, it's a higher probability short, or you can try to start scaling into puts, right? as mentioned, scale into puts as it makes new highs and then wait for the move down. So yeah, those are kind of the few probabilities I see. With that being said, let's go to this week's weekly watch list, right? Again, whatever I've talked about with the indexes, right? The same holds true for all the stocks I'm talking about. Be careful for a day or two of upside, right? Before it starts coming lower. So the first one I have is AMC. All the apes are definitely gonna hit me for calling this a short, but I really don't see that much upside left in AMC, right? If you go to the daily chart of AMC, you can see that we're pretty much hovering near the breakout, right? The last time it tried to break out, had that fake breakout. That's what you can kind of see on the 4-hour chart, right? You can see that we had this kind of fake breakout, and it's kind of what's happening right here. So I think this rally is going to peter out today at the most, right, before AMC comes lower to retest at least 15 bucks in the bigger time frame. But my targets you can see are 20 and 18, right, with a stop at 25. So the first short I have is AMC. I do think this is again going to be another breakout that comes back, and inside I can't, see it push a little higher, right? Like based on the indexes, if they have a day or two of bullishness, I could see it try to extend. But ultimately, I see it coming back in sight. So I have AMC on this week's watch list. The next one I have is Netflix, right? Again, for Netflix, depending on what the index does, it's either gonna, right? If the indexes push for a day higher, I can definitely see it try to test the top of this wedge, right? Top of this wedge, you can see it's forming a massive rising wedge, right? I can try to see it retest about 232, 234, right? Before it comes back to the downside is number one. And number two, if it doesn't retest it and starts selling off, my level, again, you can see this is pretty much the level of demand, right? Around 223. So when it breaks 223, it would have broken this massive wedge pattern, right? As a result of which it's likely going to go lower. And you can see it has massive bearish divergence forming as well. So either it's going to try to test the top of this wedge before it comes lower, or if it directly breaks 223, it should make a really nice short. So that's why I have Netflix on this week's watches. I think it gives pretty good risk to reward, right? The next one I have is JP Morgan. So we've had this before, right? Over 116, we said it was likely to break out, but it just never broke 116. So let's see if it does break 116 this time, right? It had a pretty strong Friday. If it breaks 116, then it should be able to run up to 119 and 122, right? And so I have this as calls as long as it holds over 116. As you can see, this is pretty much the level that's been acting as massive resistance, right? So say if this level breaks, same as the 79 level on AMD, right? This level was acting as massive resistance. The minute it broke, it had a massive upside move. Now I'm looking for something very similar on JP Morgan. As long as it breaks and holds above this level, it should be able to go to 121. That's why I have it on this week's this thing. The next one I have is Square. Again, the reason for Square is we've had this in prior weeks watch list, right? That it's likely to go retest like 89.90, and it ended up happening, right? So right now, Square again is in its final stages, right? Either again, it's going to directly reject 91, right? Do something like this, where it goes to hit resistance and pops back to the inside, or what Square can potentially do, right? Is it could try to make another high, right? You can see it'll probably try to retest about 93, 94, right? And top out there before it comes to the downside. Same in the indexes, right? Could have room for a day or two of upside before it falls down. Or again, I have puts below 87. The reason for that is this is previously the area of resistance. Again, it does have supply over at 93. So if it, again, makes a, you can see that it did bounce, but if this holds as a lower high, right, it's either going to top this high and come to the downside, or this is a lower high and it will start selling off on Monday. So yeah, that's why I have Square on this week's watch list. I'll be watching for if it makes a high, likely going to come down, or if it rejects and breaks support, right, then it's likely going to come back to the downside as well. And the last one I have is SMH. Over the past few, over the month, right, weeks to a month, I told you SMH is likely going to lead, it was lagging and it's likely going to lead the market, right? So now I think SMH is topping out this fifth wave, right? I think, again, it's very close to being done. So stocks like AMD, NVIDIA, MU, they should all make pretty good shorts, right? But bigger picture, we know that it has broken this channel, right? So it's a little more on the risky side. But again, you can see this is pretty much a heavy supply area. So I don't expect it, right? I think it can pop into it, but I don't think it can break that supply. So I have SMH puts on this week's watch list. Those are my 5 stocks I'm watching, right? as I spoke about for the indexes, you can watch out for a day or two of upside at the most, right? I think the index is very close to petering out. If you were a safe bear, right, wait for it to break 407 before you start shorting it, right? And again, index is very close to pretty much topping out, right? As I've mentioned, at least that's my opinion, right? This is where I see significant monthly resistance. I have a fib level coming up at 418, so I do expect some kind of downside. Even though I have a retrace to about 380, right? I think at least 390 should be possible, right? But again, I will be watching, right? The alternate bull case is that this is what the bull case would look like, right? This was your A wave, right? This is your expanded flat B wave, and we're pushing higher for that C wave. In this case, right, if this is I have it in a very low probability that this is likely to happen, right? But if that does happen, this is how I would wave it, right? This is my 1, 2. Again, even in this, you can see I have wave 3 topping out relatively soon, right? Before it comes down for the wave 4, before one more push to the upside. So it's kind of what the bull version would look like. I just wanted to go over that. I don't want to, hold you on one bias. The same would, apply for all these other stocks as well, right? This would be your 1, 2, this is your 3, your 4, or 5 in an expanded flat ABC, right? So that's the only bull version that I see. Again, after this, right, it's gonna come retrace again. So yeah, those are kind of the bull versions, right? I hope you have a great day. Thank you.